Around 40,000 years ago, deep inside a freezing cave in what we now call southern France, a group of ancient humans sat together in the dark. These were people with no houses, no beds, no calendars, no bosses, no deadlines. These were also the people who woke up under the open sky every single morning of their lives. They didn't owe anyone anything. They were free in a way you and I will never experience. And yet, they still had the same thing inside them that you have inside you right now. The wanting, the ambition, the pull to make something, to matter, to leave a mark. So what did they do when ambition showed up, but their body refused to move? What does laziness even look like when you have no couch, no phone, no Netflix, no excuses? The answer is one of the strangest, most human things I have ever read. And it's going to change the way you look at your own bad days forever. Because the reason you scroll instead of start, the reason you plan instead of act, the reason you feel exhausted by dreams you've never chased, that is not a modern disease. It is a 40,000-year-old human glitch scratched into stone. And what these ancient humans actually did in the dark, what archaeologists found on those cave walls, what Dr. David Lewis Williams spent 30 years decoding, what the bones of Sungir revealed about ancient human behavior, will make you question every single productive day you've ever had. Don't skip, because in about 4 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact ritual these humans performed when they were too afraid to act. And without realizing it, you've been performing your own version of it your entire life. Let's open the door. Forget the cartoon cavemen. Forget the grunting idiots dragging clubs. That's Hollywood garbage. The humans we're talking about, between 30,000 and 70,000 years ago, had brains slightly larger than yours. Paleoneurologist Dr. Emiliano Brunner has confirmed this in multiple studies. Cro-Magnon brain volume averaged around 1,600 cubic centimeters. The modern human average? About 1,350. Let that sink in. The man chewing dried reindeer meat in that cave, covered in animal fat to keep warm, had more raw brain than the person reading your Instagram comments tonight. His life was simple on paper, brutal in reality. He woke up with the sun, because the sun was the only clock. His bed was animal skins thrown over dry grass. His home was either a cave he could defend, or a shelter built from mammoth bones, like the ones archaeologists unearthed at Mazurek in Ukraine, where 149 mammoth jawbones were stacked into a single dwelling. A house made of monsters. There was no breakfast, no morning routine, no coffee. You woke up hungry, or you woke up cold, and both were a countdown. And here's the part that should stop your scroll right now. Even in that world, a world where laziness could literally kill you, humans still procrastinated. Scientists have the evidence, and it's about to get uncomfortable. Inside every tribe, there were two kinds of humans. The first type did the bare minimum. They hunted rabbits, birds, fish. They stayed close to the fire. They didn't dream much. They survived. The second type was dangerous. The second type looked at a mammoth, a 10-foot-tall, 5-ton creature with tusks that could crush a skull, and thought, I want to kill that. Not because they needed to. The tribe could survive on smaller game. Anthropologist Dr. Pat Shipman has written extensively about this. Most early human calories came from gathering, small game, and scavenging, not from giant hunts. So why did they want the mammoth? Killing the mammoth meant meat for months. It meant your symbol scratched into the wall. It meant the woman you loved chose you over the man beside you. It meant your name, whatever sound your name was, survived after you died. This is the birth of ambition. Not in a boardroom, not on LinkedIn, in a cold cave, in a man with dirty hands staring at a wall. But here's the twist most people miss. Most of them never did it. They talked about it, they planned it, they imagined it, and they sat there, day after day after day. And what they did while they sat there is the creepiest part of this entire story. In 1994, 3 cave explorers, Jean-Marie Chauvet, Eliette Brunel, and Christian Hilaire, crawled through a narrow opening in the Ardèche region of France. What they found rewrote human history. The Chauvet Cave. Over 400 paintings. Some dated to 36,000 years old, making them among the oldest figurative art ever discovered. But here's what's strange. The paintings weren't of the animals they actually ate. They weren't of rabbits, or deer, or fish. They were paintings of lions, rhinos, bears, mammoths, the animals they wanted to conquer, but rarely did. Dr. David Lewis Williams, one of the most respected cognitive archaeologists alive, spent decades studying these paintings. In his landmark book, The Mind in the Cave, he proposed something haunting. These weren't just art. These weren't just religion. These were mental simulations. A man who was too afraid, too tired, too hungry, or too lazy to actually hunt the mammoth would sit in the dark and paint the mammoth instead. He drew himself throwing the spear. He drew the animal falling. He drew the tribe celebrating. He simulated the victory without ever leaving the cave. Now, stop, breathe, and hear this. This is the exact same thing your brain does when you watch a 3 a.m. motivational video and feel like you've already won. This is the exact same thing that happens when you plan your business for 6 hours and never open the laptop. This is the exact same thing that happens when you imagine the gym so vividly you feel tired, and then you don't go. Neuroscientist Dr. Emily Balcetis at NYU has studied this exact phenomenon in modern humans. Her research shows the brain releases dopamine just for imagining a goal, the same chemical it releases for achieving it. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between planning and doing, so you feel rewarded for nothing. Ancient humans invented this trap 36,000 years ago, and they left it on the wall for us to find. But it gets darker, because some of them took it even further. Anthropologist Dr. Megan Beasley spent years living with the Jew/Huansi San people of the Kalahari, one of the oldest continuously living cultures on Earth, with genetic roots going back over 150,000 years. She documented something strange. Before a big hunt, the hesitant hunter would perform a ritual. He would dance the hunt. He would act it out around the fire. He would sharpen his spear for hours, even though the spear was already sharp. He would repair the same tool again and again. He would tell the story of the hunt he was going to do, over and over, in front of the whole tribe. The tribe would nod. The tribe would cheer. The tribe would believe him. And for that moment, in the flickering orange light, the lazy hunter felt like a warrior. He got the reward without the risk. He got the dopamine without the danger. He got the applause without the arrow. And then he went to sleep and did nothing the next morning. This is 40,000 years old. This is not a TikTok problem. This is not a phones rotted our brains problem. This is not a Gen Z problem. This is a human problem. Your great-great-great, 1,000 times great, grandfather sat by a fire, sharpened a spear he would never throw, told a story of a hunt he would never make, fell asleep to the sound of his own lies, and died before he became who he was born to be. That is your blood. That is why it feels so natural to plan instead of do. Your body remembers it. Your DNA was built by the cowards and the warriors. Both are inside you. And right now, in this exact moment, one of them is winning. The question is, which one? Here's the most haunting part. On the days when they had plenty of food and no pressure, anthropologists noticed something strange. Young, ambitious men would sit at the edge of the camp near the fire and sharpen a spear they didn't need for hours. It looks like nothing. It looks like laziness. And here is the thing that should stop you cold. Nobody in that camp tells him to get up. Nobody calls him lazy. Nobody asks why he's sitting there while everyone else rests. Nobody makes him feel like his stillness is a problem that needs fixing. Because they have seen what happens when this man finally stands up. Because the man at the fire was not wasting time. He was running the most powerful cognitive process the human brain is capable of. His tribe knew it, and they protected his right to do it. Anthropologists call it productive stillness. The hunter is rehearsing. Nobody in the camp called him lazy or told him to get up. They knew his stillness wasn't empty. It was a factory running at full capacity. And modern neuroscience confirms what they already understood instinctively. When you sit and do nothing, your brain activates the default mode network. It burns nearly as much energy doing nothing as it does during the hardest focused tasks. It runs simulations of futures that haven't happened yet, testing decisions before action is required. The gap between wanting something and doing it isn't a flaw in the system. It is the system. And here's the part that should haunt you tonight. We live in a world with no winter, no starving child, no tribe watching, no mocking elder. Our consequences have been softened into nothing. We can sit in our modern caves, our bedrooms, our apartments, our phones, and paint mammoths on glowing rectangles forever. Scroll, plan, imagine, simulate, sleep, repeat. We are living the same glitch our ancestors lived. We just replaced the cave wall with a screen. So, let me ask you something. Right now, somewhere in the ground, there are bones. The bones of a man who sat in a cave 40,000 years ago. A man with a brain bigger than yours. A man with a dream bigger than his fear. A man who painted his mammoth on the wall, over and over, in perfect, beautiful detail, and never threw the spear. His name is gone. His face is gone. His voice is gone. His tribe is gone. His fire is ash. His cave is a tourist site people walk through in 40 minutes and forget. He is nothing now, but somewhere else, buried under Russian soil, covered in ivory beads that took a lifetime to carve, there is another man, a man who was afraid too, a man who was tired too, a man who was lazy too. But one morning, he stood up, and he walked out of the cave. You are not descended from the painters. You are descended from the ones who moved. Every single ancestor in your line, thousands of them, stretching back through ice ages, and famines, and wars, and migrations across continents that had no names yet. Every single one of them stood up when it would have been easier to sit down. That is the only reason your heart is beating right now. And somewhere, deep inside you, that ancient hunter is still alive, still waiting, still watching you stare at the wall, still whispering the same question he whispered to himself 40,000 years ago. Is today the day I finally move? So I'll ask you what the cave asked him. What are you painting on your wall today? And when are you going to finally throw the spear? If this hit you somewhere deep, if you felt that strange recognition, like a memory you didn't know you had, that's exactly what I wanted. I'll see you in the next cave.